G'day ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me on this, my journey into the constraints-led approach for BJJ. My name is Sam Battlefields, and today we looked at a connecting session essentially. So on Wednesday, sorry for the sirens, they're coming for me. On Wednesday we had Aaron take the class, and one of the main games for mount was trying to get to kind of a high mount, but on one side, but having a high mount would work as well. So, and then yesterday the game came about, and it was kind of started from the previous day as well. But Thursday came about. I took the class, and it was basically showing an armbar from when they had their back flat on the ground versus an armbar when their shoulder was up in the air and you were able to get your hips kind of a bit more further under. And what that showed, of course, was that you had more chance of finishing or executing that armbar in the end, and going from there. But firstly, I wanted to just quickly say something that you probably... So since I started this channel, I think when I got to about maybe 10 or 12 subscribers, I was already up to sort of 13, 14 videos, and the ratio was always more videos than subscribers since then. So it's really cool to see that I have now 85 subscribers. So thank you very much for subscribing, and yeah, I really appreciate you all coming along for the journey. So today we did a similar day as yesterday, so I won't go too hectic, but there were a few takeaways from the perspective of sort of curriculum as such. So stand up, we had boxing. I really like boxing. I think again, and boxing in our case, just for those newbies that have subscribed and haven't maybe gone through the history, the boxing is just trying to palm the shoulder or torso in some way, shape or form. We are with the idea that obviously a palm on the shoulder is basically a hit to the face. So if you get a clean hit to the shoulder, basically it's saying I could have got you with a clean hit to the face, and vice versa. So from my perspective, it's strengthening my striking, and it's actually strengthening my knees, which is odd, because one of the guys said today that because he's on his feet all day, or all night, because he works night shift, because he's on his feet all night, he finds that the boxing has actually been detrimental to his knees. So that was quite interesting. But I truly believe that it's strengthening not only my knees, but also my speed, my ability to read distance, read cues, all that kind of thing. So yeah, the second game in stand-up was no boxing, but just two-hand clasped around either torso or a single limb for 3 seconds. Right, so the guard portion of this, and this is all something that I want to have a chat about, but the guard portion of this was have the chest on tricep and hold for 3 seconds, put their hip on the mat, or the bicep on your ear, and control for 3 seconds. Person in guard was to get their knee, so their win condition was to get their knee on the hip line, so on the front of the hip, and that was, yeah, that's like that as a win condition ran through to the mount game. So the only win condition for the person on the bottom was to get a knee on the front of the hips. All right. Now they can do that in any way, shape or form, but if they're able to get their knee on the front of the hips, so that could be in between the legs, or if you're able to get it up and over, you can do that too. But yeah, the goal was to get the knee in front of the hips, and this game was actually so much better. As I said yesterday, I really kicked myself on Tuesday because we had the basically the bicep on ear win condition, and that was it. And so there was, sort of giving up, falling to the hip, giving up mount in order to just not lose. Whereas this, it was three very intricately linked win conditions that resulted or could result in sweep or submission. So that was pretty cool. Mount. So mount, the person on top. Oh, the other thing that mount attack, which was going from armbar, because we had Will in today who wasn't in yesterday. We did the 2 games, so I sped up a little bit. I did all these games, and we sort of started a bit earlier and this sort of thing. So we did the 2 games that we did yesterday, one with an armbar locked up, but the person had their shoulders flat on the floor, and then the second game with the person up, shoulder off the floor. And then we went all the way back down to where they were in normal mount, and they had to basically get chest behind the tricep and then set up the armbar. I think if I had a little bit more time, I would have added a third step in there before that last one. Main reason being is because there was a lot of fighting on that last one, and there is, I believe, like a sort of a midway point where you actually have to move from your hips being sort of going up and separating to around in order to get the angle right for the armbar. But it all worked out. What we were looking for as a result actually worked out in the favour. So having a bit of a chat afterwards, we had quite an in-depth sort of insights, finding out what people were struggling with, and kind of looking at what they could look at to fix those issues. That was cool. And in the sort of background, I've been something rattled around my head a little bit while reading the Discord, where it's like play the whole game, and I feel like we haven't played any passing games for a long time. So we've got this kind of stand up and then flash, you're in guard. So yeah, I don't know what I was kind of thinking of with it, but the idea of there's got to be something, and it's forming at the moment. I've got some notes in my notebook, where what I'm looking for is sort of for these past few things. What I did with guard was look at it from like, hey, this, you're the same here as you are here. How ridiculous is that representation? Anyway, sorry for that. But essentially, if someone's in your guard and you sweep them, you're now in mount. Yeah. So it's the inversion. So what I think in the future, what I would like to do, because it's only been 2 weeks on mount, and it doesn't feel rushed, but we only really targeted an armbar. That was only really one finish in mount attacks. There's so many more attacks. It's an armbar is not the only attack from mount. So submissions aren't even the only attacks from mount. So what I would like to do with that is kind of open that up a little bit, and I came up with week 1 escapes, week 2 is isolate. So how do we isolate? How we play games around the isolation, the immobilization and isolation. Yeah, that's cool. I'll just write that down. Isolate and immobilize. Right? And then the last week, so the third week will be an attack week. Right? So as sort of the Ecological dynamics, it's immobilize to attack the center mass in order to isolate and immobilize a limb, etc., in order to execute the attack. I mean, maybe that's just Sam's bastardized version of Ecological dynamics. But then I thought, I could also do entrances, as in how do you get to mount? And then I realised that I was just giving myself another little down the fucking rabbit hole. Am I making things too hard for myself? Am I going to blah blah blah? So anyway, I have a massive podcast on this evening with Mr. Keith Davids and Professor Keith Davids, and I don't know if it's a doctor yet, but potential doctor David Farrock, and we are going to be talking about getting in the zone and how to facilitate the zone in learning practices with a whole heap of cool shit. So I'm hoping that you guys get something out of it, and thank you very much for joining me on this my journey into the constraints-led approach for BJJ. Like, comment, subscribe, tell all your friends, all my very valued new subscribers. I look forward to seeing you in the future. Cheers.